Your iPhone no longer has a headphone jack. Your computer no longer has a disk drive, and your house no longer has a landline telephone. Isn't it time we streamline the watch? I'm Thomas Hendricks, and I hate date windows. They are the face tattoo of watch design. Are there a few that do it right? Sure, I'm thinking of one right now. Are there definite bad habits to avoid? Absolutely, and we'll talk about those in a minute. But first, I touched on these in a recent video, but I have complaints that I've been waiting years to say. They are extremely biased and also 100% correct. First, the necessity factor or lack thereof. As an exercise, just count the number of times in an average day when you need to check the date. For me, it's a handful of times when I'm working, in which case I already have my full calendar in front of me. Or it's when I'm making dinner reservations, buying concert tickets, in which case I'll just look at my phone and have my full calendar there. Okay, maybe there's like a once a month, you're at the doctor's office if you go once a month and you're filling out paperwork, but then, I can just ask the nice front desk person or just, yes, pull out my phone and look at it. Simply put, the time that I spend resetting the dates on my watches is greater than the time that I save by having a date on my watch. So it's unnecessary and it's also unsightly. For this one, I think you either have a gut reaction to this or you don't. My fear is that the design teams of these brands spend countless hours building perfectly balanced, perfectly proportioned dials, and then have to stab their creation to the heart with a date window at 3 o'clock. Like some guy from sales comes down and is like, aren't we forgetting something here? For example, Big Ben, the most famous clock tower in the world, is doing just fine without a date window. Sculptural watches like the Nautilus, the Royal Oak, the Santos look a lot more artistic without them. Even the Rolex Submariner lost its original ethos when the brand added a date window. Think of it like the license plate on a sports car. Yeah, you have to have it, but it's not making it look any better. Now, I'll mention watches that actually benefit from having a date window in a second, but now it's time for my biased and 100% correct rules for designing date windows. Number 1, don't. Just don't do it. 2, consider another display system. If you must, why not try a pointer date, or a subdial, or a retrograde, or the system that Nomos developed that they won multiple design awards with. Rule number 3, color match the date wheel to the rest of the dial. It's simple stuff. If you have a blue dial, make the effort to have a blue date wheel underneath. As the wearer, you already know it's there, you don't have to look for it. There's no need for it to jump out at you. I will make an exception for the Aquanaut, I think it's the 5065A, where the date window is contrasting, but it blends in with the hour markers around it, that's fine. But otherwise, the contrast is actually compromising the overall aesthetic of the watch. Number 4, place it somewhere other than 3 o'clock. Why not keep it symmetrical by centering it at the bottom of the dial? Or why not sneak it into the negative space at 4:30? For a visual example, there are Speedmasters designed around a date window, and there are Speedmasters with a visual hierarchy that displays the same amount of information in a more organic way. Number 5, don't float it too close to the center. This one is actually pretty rare, but if you've seen the Longines Legend Diver, for example, you can just feel in your bones how lost the date window is. Just a square floating inside of a circle. Number 6, don't show more than one number at a time. And I'm looking at you, IWC. You wouldn't need that little red triangle if you only showed one date to start with. We all know what numbers come before and after. It's like your watch is being like, I'm thinking of a number between 21 and 23. I wonder what it could be. I know you want to be different, but just keep it simple. Number 7, don't add a cyclops. If I wanted to be mean, I would say it's like taking garbage and lighting it on fire. But the real point is that it requires you to turn your wrist to a specific angle to see the date. Otherwise, it's pretty distorted. That's counterproductive for visibility. The Sea Dweller doesn't need a cyclops, and it avoids a lot of scratches also because of it. There are plenty of copycat brands out there with a history of stealing Rolex's design language, but even the Timex Q is like, no, we're good, we don't need it. Last one, make it impactful or discreet, nothing in between. In other words, if you're gonna do it, do it. You can make it as subtle as possible, that looks good, or you can make it a design statement. The middle ground is indecisive and is only diluting the overall design in the name of mass market functionality. Let's end this on a positive note and shout out 2 watches where date windows actually work. The first one is obvious. It is the Lange 1. This date window is modeled after the clock found in the Dresden Opera House. It is a well-considered design that not only ties in local watchmaking traditions in Saxonia, but also balances out that signature asymmetrical dial. It's bold, it's legible, it's out of the usual, and that's what makes it an instant classic. Second one is designed by Gerald Genta, but it's not the aforementioned Nautilus or Royal Oak. It's the Universal Genève Pole Router. This is a beautifully designed watch. It's got a nice crosshair on the dial, that shimmering minute track, and those long twisted lugs that just suspend the case so beautifully. It also has a trapezoidal date window that bridges the gap between the square and the circle. This pays respect to the watch design as a whole. It's not added on, it is integrated within. It's not added on, it's integrated within. And I can't be the only one who feels this way. If you agree or strongly disagree, just drop a comment below, we'll start a conversation. Thank you for listening to my spicy little rant today. I'm Thomas Hendricks with Chrono 24. We'll see you next time.